Hello, everybody. Welcome to 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth. Obviously, I am not Mel, nor am I Smooth. Neither is the man across from me on the Zoom chat. I am blessed and honored to be the newest member of the 216 Sports Network. I have a new show coming, to be determined, to be named. Look out for that. But in the meantime, I'm going to be kind of piggybacking on 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth to kind of bring you what I will be bringing you in the future, which is some college football, a lot of college football, a lot of soccer. We're going to mix in some NFL, some NBA, some baseball. We're going to kind of hit everything. But what we're going to do today, the United States men's national team has two friendlies coming up. They dropped their roster. So what I am blessed to do today is something that I can only describe as something that makes our grandfather Andy very proud, as well as the rest of our family. And that's to have my brother Andrew Straub on the podcast with me. Drew, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Uh, so, I mean, let's let's go. What we're gonna do is we're gonna bring you basically what me and this guy do every day, and that's kind of break down some soccer stuff for you, some football, and we're gonna kind of do it in our way. My brother proudly sporting his colors, definitely United States men's national team to drip. I want to give a shout out to the social department for the t-shirt. Check out our guys down there on Front Street in Cuyahoga Falls, and when you're done, go across the street over to here, grab yourself a Hi Ho beer. Drew, let's go. So first things first, there was a group of players that are injured, so they weren't going to be able to be called up to begin with. Tyler Adams, Josh Sargent, Anthony Robinson, Zach Steven, Taylor Booth. Tyler Adams, Josh Sargent. I apologize. Tyler Adams and Anthony Robinson, starters for the national team when they are healthy. No doubt about it. Josh Sargent, Zach Steffen, getting called up if they're healthy.
If we're talking Josh Sargent, I think Pepe and Balogun, just due to their form, really have those 1 and 2 positions locked up. So I really couldn't see it. Steffen, I could see if healthy coming in because he's been Greg's guy before Turner stepped up. So I could definitely see it. However, the one guy that I do see that is injured that I think would get a call up would be Taylor Booth. Before he was injured, he got a lot of calls up in the Nations League, played a lot of minutes, looked really good. And I think if he was here, he would have a spot.
I don't disagree with you. Somebody who's kind of starting to shine, and somebody. How big of a loss do you think Tyler Adams and Anthony Robinson are going to be during this cycle until they get healthy?
In terms of Tyler Adams, I think you're definitely missing one of your leaders in the midfield. He captained the entire World Cup. He really is the guy that kind of puts everyone in the right place. However, we have looked better without him in some instances, so it's good to see against a top opponent.
I 100% agree. You cannot replace what Tyler Adams did during the World Cup. You absolutely cannot. I think one of the challenges in what you said, they've been playing better. Our opponents haven't been necessarily the opponents that you would have faced in the World Cup. So I think that has something to do with it as well. That being said, let's dive into the roster. The roster was released Thursday, I believe. So if you don't know it by now, we'll kind of do a quick run through for it. Goalies that came in, Ethan Horvath and Matt Turner, both of Nottingham Forest. Defenders, Serginho Dest, Joe Scally, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Kevin Paradas of Wolfsburg, Christoph Lund of Palermo, and then the big three, Tim Ream, Miles Robinson, Chris Richardson of Fulham, Atlanta FC, and then Chris Richardson of Crystal Palace. In the midfield, Johnny Cardoso getting a first cap, Leonard Maloney, Luca Delatorre, Weston McKinney, Malik Tillman, and Gio Reyna. Forwards and wingers, Brendan Aronson, Timmy Weah, Ricardo Pepi, Flo Balogun, and Mr. United States, Mr. Captain, Christian Pulisic. So I think it's going to be a good idea to kind of just dive quickly into each kind of positional groups. There are going to be some players we pass over. It's not because we don't think anyone's deserving of being talking to, but I've been criticizing the guy I have to stop calling it a Zoom chat. I apologize. On the StreamYard of being too deep in the weeds. So we don't want to get too deep in it ourselves and go through every player. I think that would bore anybody. So let's start with our goalies, Ethan Horvath, Matt Turner. I mentioned when I was announcing them, both of them play for Nottingham Forest in the EPL, the English Premier League, which is not great. Both guys basically fighting for time, Matt Turner being the number one. Kind of hard when both of your goalies play on the same club, no?
Yeah, Turner obviously getting all of the starts so far. But yeah, Ethan Horvath, basically the third choice goalkeeper right now, and they have a goalkeeper injured, so he might even be the fourth when he comes back. So he's not getting really any playing time, even if they're in cup matches.
Right. And if you don't know, we're don't want to gloss over some of the basic things that go on in football, but we also don't want to leave some of the people who are tuning in to kind of learn some of this stuff behind. For the most part, when you're a starting keeper, you will play all of your league games. If you're playing in higher competition cups, the Europa League, the Conference League, or Champions League, your starting goalie is typically going to start most of those games. Where you do have some transition is normally during domestic cups. Your second string or your second choice keeper will or goalie will usually play in some of those games. That's where a lot of your reserves and a lot of your backups, they will get starts, and they'll be able to play. So that definitely hurts us. I do think it is a good thing that both of them were called up, though.
I agree.
National team camps are really important for keepers, especially keepers who don't play a lot, because you're in there with the team. You can kind of gain your footing. And honestly, there are plenty of keepers who have replaced starting keepers just based on what goes on. Matt Turner, our own, replaced Zach Steffen and Ethan Horvath because of his play during our camps and during our friendlies.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And he wasn't playing at Arsenal. Stefan, when he was the starting goalkeeper, he didn't play at Manchester City a lot. And so it's a lot about just getting that work in at camps and proving to the rest of the squad that you are the number one choice goalkeeper. So this will be good for Horvath as well.
100%. And we're also blessed that, when we talk about Matt Turner, we're talking about a keeper who, and I think you can say it, regardless of form for team, shows up for country. Always has. When he's between the sticks and he's got the gloves on for the United States men's national team, Matt Turner shows up, he performs, and that's evidence with qualifying for the World Cup. He was our starter for, I do believe, all of qualifying, majority of qualifying. I don't have that number on the tip of my head, so I don't want to give that out without being 100% sure, but majority of qualifying, Matt Turner was the number one, and for all of our World Cup games. And I don't really think there was any point during that World Cup run where you could look at Matt Turner and go, Matt Turner lost the game, or Matt Turner made mistakes. And is a keeper who's not the strongest with his feet, but he definitely shows out and he shows up when he puts the red, white, and blue on.
Yeah, he is an incredible shot stopper, and it seems like he just turns it up another level when he puts on the U.S. jersey, and he's far and clear the number one going into this camp.
Absolutely. And not just going into camp, I really don't. There's a gulf right now between the number one and the number two. So that's definitely big. Unfortunately, it would have been nice for Zach Steffen to be healthy, because I do believe we would have maybe even brought three keepers, or I do believe he possibly would have replaced Ethan Horvath, just because if Zach Steffen is healthy, he is the number one at Middlesbrough in the Championship, the second division of England. So it's not a super weak league, but there's that. All right, let's go to our defenders. This is a big one for me. Miles Robinson, Chris Richardson playing together in the middle. It's something that I believe is the center back pairing of the future. I definitely believe Mark McKenzie, when he gets rolling and fit, is going to be somebody who's going to have a play into that. I was actually disappointed to not see that he was called up for this one, but how much I love these two. What I think of these two. I go out of my way to buy them in FIFA. Not that means anything to anyone, but hey. So Miles and Chris together, thoughts?
I like them. They're both relatively young. Miles playing more than Chris, but Chris is obviously in a better league. I think they both have a very legitimate shot to take over that second center back position. Obviously, Tim Ream has it locked down, but
yes,
that second spot I think is very much up for grabs. And all three of those guys really have a good shot at really taking that by the horns.
100%. And also, I mean, as you know, the two of us who have followed this team since we were, little babies. So obviously I'm a little older than you, a little bit. So I've been following it a little bit longer. To have two, and not just two, when you add in the likes of Cameron Carter-Vickers and Mark McKenzie, the speed and the pace of center backs is really not something that we are normally accustomed to for the United States men's national team. We're kind of used to, not that they were bad, but we're used to kind of big, tall, strong center defenders who aren't always the quickest on the ball or the best with their feet. And all of these guys are a lot different than they can be. Tim Ream, you mentioned him, lock on the old man Timmy, lock on the number one center back position, arguably your captain, with Adams being there, even with Chris being there, but doesn't come into the camp in the best of form right now.
No, he doesn't. This, past couple weeks has been kind of rough. Earlier, a couple weeks ago, he got a red card on a really stupid play.
Playing with a broken arm still as well, I think is a good thing to mention as well.
That is true. However, this past week he was playing Chelsea, gave up a really lazy pass, and then basically gave up an own goal. But as we have seen, club form does not always translate to international form, and I'm sure Tim Ream will be just fine playing, and he is still our number one going into it.
100%. He plays for Fulham in the English Premier League, just so that was thrown out there. Fulham has been has been a yo-yo club in terms of being relegated, being promoted, being relegated, being promoted. But Tim Ream has been a solid person there. It's also fair to mention that Tim Ream came on very late with the United States men's national team in terms of being brought up late into qualifying, and was brought up late and basically took over that starting center back position. So I don't want to criticize him too much, because if you look back, he wasn't even in the team during this time going and leading up into qualifying. Obviously, we don't actually have to qualify for this upcoming World Cup. Being a host, we qualify automatically, but still, we do hope that hopefully Tim can find some footing and, get his form up. Serginho Dest, the same. Hopefully he can kind of continue his run. And I know you want to speak to this. Another player like Matt Turner, when he puts the jersey on, when he puts the shirt on, it's a totally different guy, regardless of what's been going on with his club.
You're exactly right. When he wasn't playing at all last year, when he was riding the bench, he came on and gave life to this offense when we were playing in January. So the fact that he's even playing really well at PSV, while that's great, you know that as soon as he comes into camp, something switches on and he's going to give it his best and he's going to play really well.
100%. Another person I do think worth mentioning, Joe Scally, playing for Gladbach in Germany in the German First Division. Hopefully he gets a little bit more form. However, in getting his form back this next weekend, he also had an amazing goal today, so I heard.
Yes. He came on late as a sub, as he's been doing lately, so he hasn't been getting a lot of playing time, but he had a great shot from outside the box. Goalkeeper could only get a fingertip on it, but it went in anyways. I think that let's hope that that's a sign that he's picking up form, because while he is strong defensively, we do want to see some offense, come in as well to, make sure that he's doing well on both sides.
Took us almost 15 minutes to finally mention him. Greg Berhalter, the United States men's national team coach. I think that's a whole nother pod for a whole nother day.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to always necessarily sit back. So he does like his fullbacks, his wide defenders, to kind of get up and get out and get moving. So that's definitely something that's important. Hopefully Joe can find that. And Cameron Carter-Vickers just literally this week came back from injury, made the bench for Celtic in the Scottish Premier League, their Champions League game. So hopefully CCV can get some minutes and kind of get his form rolling. All right, let's jump into the midfield. Gio Reyna. I mean, there's no way to avoid this. There's no way to not talk about it if you're unfamiliar with some of this drama with the United States men's national team. And a couple of friendlies leading up to our first game against Wales. Gio Reyna was, I mean, based on all reports from players who played in the friendly and everyone who was there, was lazy, was sloppy with the ball, and did not seem to care in these friendlies leading up to the World Cup. Gio is very young. I do believe he's still, 20, 19, 20. He was told by United States men's national team coach Greg Berhalter that he would not play many minutes and that he was going to be sent to the bench. In doing so, Giovanni Reyna threw an absolute temper tantrum. Wasn't a great teammate, wasn't good, didn't play well when he came in. And in the process, his parents behind the scene kind of tried to start lobbying against Greg Berhalter, brought up a lot of things from Greg and his wife's past stuff I really don't think we need to go into. I don't think it's fair to anyone involved to kind of bring this up, especially Greg's wife. But they made an absolute mess of it. And Gio was basically banished from the national team for a while. His parents are no longer around. His father, I do believe, lost his position with Austin FC in the MLS. Basically, just ugly. This has been a huge black cloud surrounding the national team, the sporting directors, and just everyone in general. I don't know, do anything to add there.
Yeah, it obviously was just an awful scenario post World Cup. However, on the bright side, I guess we can say that, the players have repeatedly said that it was handled in-house during the World Cup, and everyone was pretty much past it before the news even came out.
Worth being noted, we did not know about any of this until after the World Cup. Me and you watching the games together, we're confused. We did not know why Reyna wasn't playing. Everyone was confused. Everyone was wondering. So the team did do a great job of funneling it and making it quiet, not letting it be a distraction. But so Gio Reyna finally back with the team. Which is amazing, which is great. A generational talent. His father was as well. So it's great to have Gio back, and hopefully he can stay healthy. It's worth mentioning Malik Tillman, who plays at PSV with Serginho Dest and Ricardo Pepi, in form, 2 goals and assists this campaign, is brought in, number one, because he is a backup for Gio Reyna, an injury-plagued player, but also because he deserves it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. He started off slow with the transfer to PSV, didn't get a lot of minutes, but as the weeks have gone on, he's earned the trust of his manager. He started last week, got a goal and an assist, and then played a full 90 minutes against Sevilla in the Champions League. Definitely deserving of a call-up, and hopefully he gets some minutes to really show, what he can do with this team.
100%. Jonas Musa playing well for AC Milan, a transfer in from Valencia this year. 2 Champions League starts, important things for American players to be playing in the Champions League. If you don't know, the Champions League is a combination of the top teams around Europe, winners of their leagues, teams who have finished up in runners-up positions. If you have a stronger league, it kind of extends into 3rd place and 4th place, but basically the best of the best. And what we want is our Americans to not just be playing in the top flights of Europe and all around, but to be playing in that competition, like a certain captain we will be talking about coming up. Weston McKennie found his footing again at Juventus, was loaned out to Leeds last year, did play for Leeds, kind of struggled towards the end of the season. The crowd wasn't the nicest to him or that team, but they were also relegated. Splitting time with Timmy Weah, but Weston's playing again, and we know when Weston starts playing and Weston starts getting rhythm, you can argue that Weston McKennie is the most talented and he's the rock in the engine of the United States men's national team.
Yeah, with Tyler Adams being out, McKennie is going to be the rock in that midfield, controlling everything, and kind of a recurring theme. Yes, he's getting minutes, and yes, we're glad he's playing at club, but as soon as he puts on that jersey, he turns into, a leader in that midfield. And while we want him to play more and we want, Timothy Weah to play more, it's going to be good to see him, play a full 90 and not just come off the bench or only play like 45 minutes.
100%. You mentioned him, and I mentioned it. At Juventus, Weston McKennie and Timmy Weah are seemingly splitting minutes. A bit frustrating. Timothy Weah transferring in from help me there, brother.
Lille
in the French first division from last year. Weah started a lot last year. Made a lot of appearances. Was good. Now he's in a bench role. He's coming off. How do you feel about the two of them splitting these minutes and kind of stealing this from each other? It is tough because we want both of these guys, especially Timothy Weah, dad George Weah, former Ballon d'Or winner. We want him to be playing.
Yes. It is frustrating because, both these guys have the caliber to start at high profile clubs.
100%.
And so, it is frustrating, but I think at the end of the day, them both getting minutes is what's really helping. And
100%.
and I think that them both working and training on each other in this very similar position will ultimately make them better, regardless of how many minutes they do get on the bench. And when they come into here, they're going to be on go as soon as the whistle blows.
100%. And a theme, not also with some of our American players, when they put the shirt on, they kind of show up. We have a lot of American players who this recent summer transfer window kind of teamed up. They did what the rest of the American players are doing over here in America, and they're teaming up. PSV, Serginho Dest, Malik Tillman, Ricardo Pepi. You have AC Milan, where you have Jonas Musa, you have Christian Pulisic, and then you have Juventus, where you have Weston McKennie, you have Timothy Weah. So I mean, it's a good thing. Some of these guys are familiar with each other. The nice thing about this United States men's national team is the core of these players. They've been playing with each other since youth soccer and on the youth level. So we finally have a very, very strong young team of guys who aren't just talented on their own, but they're talented and together, and they've played with each other. Since we are going to continue talking about the wingers and our forwards, it's fair enough to mention Brenden Aaronson. Memphis Messi, struggling a bit. Was at Leeds United with Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie last year. Once Leeds was relegated, activated a release clause, and is now on loan at Union Berlin in the German first division, and they made the Champions League last year. I mean, let's just be honest. He's struggling this year, big time, which is weird because Brendan came from Austria. No, I apologize. From Germany originally, transferred into Leeds, and now is back in Germany. So familiar with the style of play, familiar with the league, but 0 goals and 0 assists this year. 159 of 360 minutes played in their first division, and only 33 minutes in the Champions League. Only has come on a sub. He's struggling. Glad he got called up still, but struggling.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those minutes were in the early stages of the campaign for Union, and unfortunately, it's playing out a lot similar to what it did at Leeds, where he got a lot of minutes to begin with. He was given a lot of room to work, and then as the season's gone on, his minutes are slowly coming down, and it just seems like he's just not a good fit again, and that's really troubling to see.
I think the troubling thing here is his start with Leeds, though. There were flashes, there were goals, there were assists, there were highlights, there were plays where you were like, okay, these minutes are deserving. The minutes he's getting here at Union Berlin are basically based off of hype from the first set of minutes at Leeds, and it's not putting pen to paper. So hopefully Greg Berhalter can get Brenden Aaronson some minutes, and hopefully he can gain some confidence and get some back, especially I don't think we've actually mentioned it. The United States will be playing Germany and Ghana. Hopefully, especially for that Ghana game, hopefully maybe he can potentially get a start, maybe come along something like that. Forwards. And I said, not because of a bad thing. You could argue Ricardo Pepi and Florian Balogun, two of the most talented forwards the United States men's national team has ever seen.
Yeah. Obviously, Clint's in a league of his own in terms of physicality and playing, but in terms of just the ceiling of these players.
Landon Donovan.
Yes, exactly. But in terms of the ceiling of these players, they are absolutely flying.
Higher than the Notre Dame sign that you see at the top of my screen there.
Exactly. Balogun, rough start at Monaco initially with 2 missed penalties, but bounced back the next week and had a goal and an assist. So he's coming into camp flying. In terms of Pepi, not getting as much minutes as he'd like at PSV just because the person in front of him is doing so well.
Yes.
But he's making the most of that opportunity. He's
getting about 15 minutes per appearance.
but he has 3 goals already. So that just means that as soon as he gets it, he's making an impact and he's proving that he deserves more minutes. And I'm sure we'll see that soon.
If you're gonna come off the bench, make the most of what you can. That is exactly what Ricardo Pepi is doing. Okay. Snubs.
Yeah.
Now, when we say snubs, there are going to be a couple that we personally think should have been there, but mostly this is about just the talking points of who didn't make it and who's not there. I think the first glaring thing about this list is, and the first snub is the MLS. Only 2 players out of the MLS have been called up to the squad. I'm not actually which 2 those were. Julian. Oh, my bad. That would be Julian and
DeJuan Jones and Miles Robinson are the 2 that came into the camp.
An absolute horrible throw and assist to my brother. That was the exact opposite of Wade throwing it to LeBron. I completely threw it out of bounds and you crashed to the floor. That's okay. We'll work on that. That's it. We're gonna catch some fire for this. It is a weaker league.
Yeah, I agree.
Regardless of how many times ESPN shows you highlights of Messi dribbling around everyone and scoring lots of goals, it is a weaker league. It has been kind of a retirement league for a lot of people. The other thing is when a lot of the younger players actually kind of gain some value and they start to show flashes, they're immediately plucked out and they're immediately bought and sold. So when you see a heavy MLS squad of younger players, it kind of will sometimes throw you some concern because are some of these players too young? Are they not ready? Or are they and we're ready to go? And, we kind of, they deserve a shot. Is it the end of the old guard?
Yeah, I mean, if you look, when Greg first came, the first major tournament, it was heavy MLS. There was a couple guys, like Chris Pulisic, that came in because they were just incredibly good. But yeah, you were slowly starting to see less and less MLS guys.
Yeah, and fair to point out what a history with a United States men's national team coaches. American-based coaches do tend to lean on the MLS a lot. It wasn't really until we brought in a European where you really started to see a heavy influence on those European base players, which, I mean, I don't think it's an argument, are the more talented roster pool to choose from. When I say the end of the old guard, Christian Roldan, Kellen Acosta, Aaron Long, Paul Areola, Alejandro Bedoya, Sebastian Lletget. These are guys who were regularly picked, regularly called up, kind of on a constant basis, and none of them are there. Possibility for a call up to the Nations League, or do you think this is it?
Honestly, I think this could be the sign of the end for those guys, just because when you look at it, the last cycle of the World Cup when we were, starting to qualify, a lot of the guys in Europe that we were, calling on to come in were 20, 21, even like 19 years old. When now, if you're looking at here, and you needed that experience kind of to get them through. Now those guys have experience in those kind of roles. They're 24, 25 now, and I think those guys are going to start to be your veterans, and those, those MLS veterans aren't really needed anymore.
100% agree. Speaking of some of those veterans, Walker Zimmerman, Nashville FC, and Jordan Morris of Seattle, 2 guys who were on the World Cup roster. Walker Zimmerman started 3 or 4 games. Jordan Morris was a sub, I think, in 2 or 3 of those games. Guys who have been mainstays in the national team roster. Surprised they weren't called up?
Yeah, honestly, because a lot of that comes, back to Greg religiously calling, especially those 2 up when they are healthy, and to see them not on a roster against, tough opponents that, we might see in a World Cup is pretty surprising.
Very surprising, especially Walker Zimmerman. Walker Zimmerman was a starter throughout qualifying as well. He hasn't been in bad form at Nashville FC. He's been playing well. It is surprising for me to not see him there, especially with just some other guys. Jordan Morris, I'm going to try not to, completely just blush and kind of show out. I've loved Jordan Morris since his time at Stanford and through the injuries. So it was a surprise for me. I think the problem going forward for guys like Jordan Morris is there are just more talented guys in the roster and in the positions in front of him. So and unfortunately, him not being what he was before the ACLs and the knee injuries, he's gonna eventually fall down that pecking order. Time to talk about him. Jesus Ferreira, probably the most polarizing player in on the United States men's national team pool. I say that because there are only two schools of thought with Jesus, and that's either you love him or you hate him. Not personally, but his play. Been very, very much a guy who's been accused of kind of picking goals against very, very weak opponents, and not really showing up and doing as well when kind of the games get tougher and you need to really take your chances. Agree?
Yeah, honestly, I think I agree with that school of thought, just because, especially when you go up to the biggest stage, the World Cup, he didn't play throughout all of the group stage. And then
Right.
we give him the start against the Netherlands, and he didn't really touch the ball more than a couple
No.
times. And when you have that center position where, Greg wants his, striker to come in and touch the ball, if you're not touching it, you're kind of useless in that position.
100%. It's also very, very tough when, and this is not an accusation of anything against Jesus Ferreira's talent. When you're not a world-class top player, it is very tough to come in, not play throughout the group stages of the World Cup, get thrown into the first knockout round, and kind of basically be told, lead the line and go get goals. That's not easy for any top player, let alone a guy is still MLS based. He plays at FC Dallas. He's come up through the FC Dallas Academy. That's tough. Like it's not an easy thing to do. But hopefully Jesus will kind of gain some form with his club, get some more opportunities. We have a long time until this next World Cup. He deserves more opportunities, at least against some more tougher opponents, to at least show, hey, I can do this, or maybe I just can't. Maybe I just need to come up with some of the weaker opponents. You can't always bring a full squad to every qualifying. There are certain leagues that will not let you loan players out and bring them up for those games. So sometimes you kind of just need to bring up some other guys. So hopefully he can still, kind of perform. Last and not least, and bro, I will give you the floor only because you will be way more passionate than I could ever be about this. But John Brooks not being called up to the United States men's national team. Full disclosure for everyone else, when he was pulled up and brought up his last time, we were playing with 5 defenders at the back. John Brooks was asked to do a job that is beyond John Brooks' skill capability. It's not something he would ever be asked at another club. He struggled. He was pulled and he was subbed off in games. And basically from that point forward, we have not seen John Brooks on the national team. He hasn't been called up. He has not played. I think it's unfair. I don't think it's right. I think he deserves a call up, but I definitely want to. Now we have a good one. Alley-oop off the backboard. Here you go, bro.
All right. So, 2 years ago when that happened and he was left off the next ones, you were like, okay, he was at Wolfsburg, a German club. They weren't doing great. He was getting semi-consistent minutes. You were like, okay, that makes sense if you want to see other players.
You're struggling on your national team. You're struggling on your club team. I'm going to let you sit and gain some form.
Exactly. Then you fast forward a year, and it still is okay because, he left Wolfsburg, was in between, teams, really wasn't getting a lot of playing time. Okay, sure, that makes sense. But now you are on a team in Hoffenheim, in the German club that is 6th in the Bundesliga, the German league. He is playing every single minute for that team, and he is playing extremely well. If you look at the center backs that we have brought up, Tim Ream, struggling a little bit in form. Chris Richards, not really playing a lot at Crystal Palace. Cameron Carter-Vickers just got back off an injury. Miles Robinson, not playing to a league near as competitive as the Bundesliga. He has an advantage in technically over all of those players. And to not see him even get like a call up to the roster, I could see maybe if you want to start him, he hasn't been to the team in a while. That makes sense. But it's not even get a roster call up is just honestly unbelievable to me, just because the fact that I feel like we've gotten so many excuses and I feel like we're out of them at this point.
100% right. Full disclosure for everybody, me and Andrew have been hard on Greg Berhalter because this team really, really deserves a very top class tactical manager. And we'll just be honest, that's not who Greg Berhalter is. That's just not him. I also don't like, and I know this happens a lot with like NBA All-Star games and stuff like that. Well, I think this guy should have made it. Well, who shouldn't have made it then? I don't believe it's fair or right to Cameron Carter-Vickers for him to not even be playing full minutes with his club at Celtic, only be added to the bench for a Champions League game. And you can correct me. Did he come on during that game?
He came on for like 10 or 15 minutes. It was not that long.
So a guy who's come on for 10 or 15 minutes for his club, he just got back from injury. What would be more important? Flying him in, having him start training with a new group of guys. Not that he's unfamiliar with the national team, but it's not his club team. Having him train with those guys. You're really not going to give him many minutes. You're not going to start a guy who only had 10 minutes for his club, or bring in John Brooks, who is playing, and let him be there. Let him get back with the team. There has never been any even rumors of him being a bad locker room guy, not being anything but a good veteran presence. Why would you not bring him in? And like I said, we're going to do an entire pod on our criticism of Greg Berhalter, other than the fact that he wears great shoes and makes great bounce passes that are things that are useless. We could be very critical because these are the things and these are the decisions that, I'm sorry, they just don't make any sense. If this wasn't a full, strong squad, I could understand John Brooks not being there. You're bringing an A squad, Balogun, Reyna, Pulisic, McKinney, Weah, Tim Reams, your first choice keepers. Why would you not bring in someone who went in form, was your first choice center back with the captain's armband? I can't believe that either. So we'll our first big deep breath of the night.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to a game preview. Germany called up a strong squad, is all is what most German teams do. Joshua Kimmich, Ter Stegen. You want to throw in a couple for us?
Yeah, Antonio Rudiger, Leroy Sané, Kai Havertz. It's pretty much a full strength squad at this point. Absolutely.
It is fair to point out Julian Nagelsmann is taking over for his first appearance as Germany's head coach. He replaces, Germany has struggled on the national stage recently in tournaments and in European qualifying. So they'll be ready for us. Everyone loves to play the United States. We're a fun team to kind of pick on, politics and everything else included and excluded. People like to beat us up. They like to. So the Germans are not going to be taking us lightly, and they're going to be very, very, very prepared for us.
Yeah, no, I agree. However, I am curious to see how they handle the first couple games in Julian Nagelmann's tenure here, just because, this game, in a sense, to them really doesn't mean too much. It means a lot for us because it's a measuring stick, but for them, this 100%. Is them getting just right from the World Cup debacle that they had. And so I'm very curious to see just how they line up, how they perform, and if it's more of a training session for them or if they're going to go full go against us.
Exactly what you said. No disrespect to our own national team, but this is a glorified major training session for Germany. They're only going to be able to train with him for a couple days. And then these two games that Germany play will be, kind of a real test to kind of go live. What we're doing right now, your kind of first run to go live and kind of see how it rolls. Formations for the United States team going into this Germany game. Are you sitting down? You are. Hold on to your chair. Hold on to your seat. I want the United States to play with 5 in the back. Hot take alert.
Give you the floor. I'll give you the floor there because I need you to explain it to me.
I hate this formation so much. I apologize for anyone who likes it or whoever's favorite team plays it. I've never grew up with it. I never played it. I never liked it. I don't like having extra defenders. I would rather have a defensive holding mid come back and help if needed. But the reason I want 5 in the back is because you have 2 players with Chris Richardson and Miles Robinson who I want to see together, added in with the fact that Tim Ream is in form or can be in form with the national team and is an amazing passer. We don't have Anthony Robinson. If Anthony Robinson is there, it's a for sure back 4, Destin Robinson on each side, Ream, and then whoever else playing in the middle. With him not being there, why not give an opportunity to play those 3 in the back, Tim Ream being your center, Robinson and Richardson's on either side of him. Dest out wide. Allow Joe Scally, possibly Tim Weah. Tim Weah is playing in a wingback position at Juventus. He is out of position. He has done everything that he is supposed to in terms of saying that he'll do whatever for the team, and that's where he'll play. If he comes up and he's honest with Greg Berhalter and he says, I would rather be in the winger spot, I think you start Timothy Weah in the winger spot. If he's open to playing that position for us, why not play him there? He's already familiar with it. You're not taking him out of what he's doing for his club. And you add in another amazing attacking threat on that right side. You can still
listen.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's very fair. Honestly, you make a lot of good points, and I would say
I always make
okay. We'll settle down there. No, but you bring up a lot of fair points, and honestly, if we play it that way, I wouldn't be upset about it. You know what I mean? I just think that there might be a little. I think we've played better with 4 at the back and someone like a Giovanni Reina or Malik Tillman as a number 10, a center attacking midfielder instead. But I honestly, if we play like that against at least Germany only, I would be okay with that.
Exactly. I mean, the problem you're going to run in with Germany is Reina, Aronson, Weah, and Tillman all cannot start. Some of these guys have to be left to the bench for your McKinneys and your Musas, your kind of more solid defend first midfielders. So, possibly that right-hand side, that could be a Weah into a Reina substitution. Miles Robinson and Chris Richardson possess the pace to play, a right back, a left back over there and shift over when the 5 kind of moves. Score prediction. How do you think the United States men's national team does against Germany?
Yeah. Obviously, you think of Germany as this very tough opponent, and they very well might be. However, I'm leaning more towards that. I think they're going to take it a little bit lighter. They're going to try to, get some things ironed out and get it right. I'm seeing like a 1-1 where, we might get a goal early on just because, maybe they're out of sync, out of formation. Maybe we're just pressing really hard. But then I could see Germany really putting on the pressure late and snagging a late goal and it ending in a draw.
100%. I'm going to change the score prediction that I had from when we talked previously before hitting the record button. All this talk's got me fired up and going. But I agree with you. I think Germany takes this lightly, not in a bad way.
No.
They're trying to figure out what's going on with their new coach, formations, tactics, all things like that. I think the United States takes this very seriously. I think they go absolutely at it, and I think they win 2-1. I think they get after it, and I think they make a real game of this, and I think they can do it. The second opponent in this window, those games coming up next weekend, is Ghana, an opponent very, very familiar to the United States. You've probably seen the highlights of the goals during all the World Cup lead ups, and anytime we win a group stage game, they throw those. They love to throw those highlights in there. How do you think we'll fare against Ghana?
Ghana. I don't know terribly too much about them recently. However, I know that they consistently make the World Cup, or at least are very close. So I know they're a very formidable opponent.
They are never a weak team ever.
Exactly. However, I think that, I think we definitely have the skill and the quality to break them down and score. And so I'm seeing a 2-1, maybe 3-1 scoreline in our favor.
I think the biggest thing to worry about is the letdown coming off of a German game, a game against the German national team. I think especially if you win, you beat a team like that, and it's going to be very, very harder to get up for Ghana once you've had the Germany game. However, the United States men's national team goes out and gets a draw or does not get a result against Germany, I 100% would look for that team to definitely go after Ghana. I definitely want to see some other guys get some minutes in that Ghana game. I want to see the first team. I want to see the first team against Germany. Period. I want very limited subs in terms of it being a close game. I want this treated seriously. We do not have to qualify for this World Cup. We will not have tough games that we have to win to make the World Cup. You have to take these games against these bigger nations very seriously. I want to see a great starting 11. I want to see subs that mean something. Go into Ghana with other guys, some of these guys who have had first-time call-ups, and I'm flipping back over Leonard Maloney, Cardoso. I want Luca in there. I definitely want to see a start for Malik Tillman and Gio Reyna based on what the formation looks like in the first game. I may even want to see a goalkeeper change. I might want to see Ethan Horvath try to get some minutes. Let this guy get some touches and get some play. If he's not going to ever get it when he gets back to Nottingham Forest, we know Matt Turner's going to play. Yeah. Let's get some help if we can. Anybody else you want to throw in there?
I think you touched on a lot of them. I do want to see Christopher Lund from Palermo. I want to see what he did because he had a very impressive camp in September. He was really speedy. He was really good on the ball. I want to see the next step from him. I want to see against a tougher opponent. And Ghana is better than Oman, at least in the rankings, in Oman or Uzbekistan. So even if he doesn't get the start against Germany, a start against Ghana to see how he does would really help me see, what that backup left back position would look like, if Anthony is out like he is now.
100%, and we hope all the our injured guys get back very soon because we want to see them. We want to see them playing. This is a big lead up. This is the biggest World Cup ever because it's here on our soil again. It's not just because of that, but this is the most talented roster pool the United States of America has ever had in the history of this nation putting a ball on the ground and kicking it. That is flat out. That is unarguable. Those are facts. With the way these guys are playing, where they're playing at, the amount of football and soccer whatever you want to call it, whatever you want us to call it, this is it. This is the most talent we have ever had. This team needs to perform. You could argue they underperformed at the last World Cup. We did get out of the group stage barely, like we always do. And we didn't put the greatest performance in against the Netherlands. So they definitely need to show up. Host nations typically get a better draw, get a better group. The only problem with this one, there are 3 host nations. So it's going to be impossible to give three teams easy draws. That's just what it is. But that'll come way more in the future when we kind of do some more lead up to that. These games are important. The Germany and the Ghana game are important specifically because the only thing that we have after this is the Nations League. And you're going to attest to this for me. The Nation League typically is a very, very, very weak pool of teams.
Yeah, this isn't, 10 years ago where, we want to make the final and then let's hope we can beat Mexico in the final. We're going to this tournament, the clear favorites, and we expect to dominate 90% of the games, if not 100. And so you're not playing great opponents until maybe Mexico, if they, start to turn it around, maybe Canada, if they start to turn it around, maybe Panama, but not on even close to the level of a Germany or sometimes even Ghana in this competition. So, you are favorites in that tournament. You might not even be a favorite against Germany in this game coming up. So these are important.
100%. On that note, any lasting touches you want to throw out for the United States men's national team before we change?
You know what? I'm excited to see the games. I'm excited to see, Gio Reyna finally back in. And, let's hope that, we get some entertaining games. That's all I'm hoping for.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. Are we watching those together?
We can, yeah.
Okay. Are you in town? Maybe we'll do a quick recap on those games as well. So that is not the only thing that we want to talk about tonight. So we're going to switch over. As you see, change the banner up. Here we go. So one of the biggest things that I'm going to be talking about when I do my own kind of thing is college football. It is my favorite sport other than soccer, full disclosure. Love college football. I think you see the clock at the top of my stand behind me. Go Irish. I am 100% a Notre Dame fan. But unlike, I think, what a lot of people do, and I'll just be honest, I love my Irish. I watch every game. I root for my team. But when I get on here to talk to you, I'm not going to be doing it with green jerseys and fighting Irish clovers in the background. I'm going to be real about things. I want to talk about college football because all I do is watch college football. So it's definitely something I want to get going. We are blessed. This might be one of the most amazing slates of college football we've had in a little while. It is easily the best year or week we've had all year. I know normally this isn't something I would drag you in for. Mr. Bearcat's in the background. We see you. Full disclosure, my brother over there at UC, University of Cincinnati. You, Travis, and his brother, I know, are a little down right now because other than Taylor Swift, your Bearcats aren't doing very well. This slate is just, it's flat out amazing. Number 10, Notre Dame versus number 25, Louisville. We've got number 23, LSU versus 21, Missouri. Number 4, Ohio State versus a very sneaky good Maryland team. Tua's younger brothers there. Number 13, Washington State versus UCLA. I bring that game up because UCLA is favored against number 13, Washington State. Alabama versus Texas A&M, aka Nick Saban versus Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah.
Number 1, Georgia, coming off a scare versus number 20, Kentucky. The Red River rivalry. Say it 3 times fast. Formerly the Red River Shootout. Texas versus Oklahoma, number 3 versus number 10. I do believe that is prospectively. Also, no, I'm sorry. That's it. Those are the ones I want to touch on. That's amazing. Okay, that is an amazing slate of games. Alabama and Texas A&M has become a real rivalry now, especially with all the things that Jimbo keeps saying, because Jimbo just unfortunately likes to make the rest of us miserable and try to poke Nick Saban. Thanks a lot. We finally have him on a down year, and you're going to say something dumb in the next couple of games. Honestly, I want to point out for me, my top 4. I definitely have Michigan up there. I definitely have Georgia. I think Texas is worthy. Florida State, I know a lot of people have put them up there. I think they deserve it. I don't think the gap right now between Florida State and Ohio State is as big as everybody thinks. I think those teams are all close in there. What's your pick for the best game in there so far?
Ooh, that's tough. I played Oklahoma. Cincinnati played Oklahoma earlier in the year. It is a tough game. I contribute to offensive struggles, but I think the defense is pretty good down there in Oklahoma. They'll give Texas a run for their money. That's a great game, but honestly, I'm really looking at a Kentucky-Georgia game. I think Kentucky's going to come out blazing and really will give Georgia a run for their money.
This is not your grandma's Kentucky football team. That is not just a basketball score right now. Them and Duke. Shout out to my Irish for pulling out a late one against Duke after blowing it completely late against Ohio State. 10 guys on the field. Yeah. That is a big one. Duke and Kentucky, not just basketball schools anymore. Them guys can play some football. Kentucky coming off a big upset of Florida, which I picked last week. Thank you. I know it wasn't on here, and I know no one can find it unless you're in our Facebook group, but I called it. I said it. I'll show you the notebook. I did it. So that's a big one. In terms of betting, which is something that I'm gonna want to really, 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 really bring in. I want to talk about it. I want to do it. I will let you know where I put my money at, because hey, there's no use to talking about betting if you're not going to put your money where your mouth is. I love Notre Dame on a 6.5. Love it. I think this Irish team is rolling, and I think after the test against Duke, which is not a bad football team, I think it's go time, and I think this team can really make some noise. I'd like Maryland to keep it under 19.5. Woo! Shocking. I know. Okay. This is shout out to Scott Van Pelt. This Maryland team is for real. They are. So I think they're gonna do it. Parlay wise, that's what I like. I like Notre Dame minus 6.5. I like Texas minus 5.5. Mm-hmm. Add it in with the Colorado money line. Colorado taking on Arizona State. Coach Prime, baby. I think he bounces back. Coach Prime is for real. Get your hate out of here. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. I don't care. I don't care how much they talk about him. He's amazing for college football. I don't care about the transfer portal. Every coach goes into every new team and he guts the rosters and he kicks kids out. I think the difference between other coaches and Coach Prime is man enough to tell those kids at Colorado, you're not going to play. You jump in the portal, go find a school, go find somewhere to play. Instead of being a coach who goes, no, you'll play. I got you. You're going to get some reps, kid. And the kid never see the light of day. I know people don't like it, but I think so. I like those three together. Those three together on FanDuel plus 479. I think it's worth to put it together. Just in general, I'll go through some picks myself. You can jump in whenever you want. I've got Notre Dame over Louisville.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Brian Kelly. I like LSU to bounce back again and beat Mizzou. That is a good Mizzou team. I'm not gonna lie.
Underrated right now, under the radar.
Brian Kelly losing 4 games at LSU in his second year would only just make my Notre Dame
Me
heart
too.
and your Cincinnati heart just the Grinch. Our heart grew 3 sizes that day. I like Ohio State to win. I did mention I like Maryland to keep that under on the 19.5. Upset alert. I'm going to throw it out here now. I think it's the cheapest upset I've ever taken. Washington State over UCLA. How the number 13th ranked team in the country is an underdog, unless there is an injury, and I apologize if there is something that I missed, and that is why the money line changed. But I'm going to take Washington State to beat UCLA. So there you go. I can't wait till us to go back and realize Washington State starting quarterback was out, and we were doing this whole pod stupidly bringing this up. I like Georgia, but I think it's going to be a test. I do not think – I mean, Georgia has yet to really show us they are that team that they were last year. I know the defense, has been keeping them in the games, but, it's a tough one. I like Texas. I like Texas big. I think Texas wins by more than a touchdown. I think this Oklahoma team is good. I just think Texas is on another level. Is Texas back?
I think they're probably the best they've been in the amount of times that they said they're back. But if we're talking the elite level of winning, a college football playoff, I think I think this will be a good test, and I think it's still yet to be seen.
I think Texas is back. They beat Alabama one year when they were back, and then they lost. I think Texas is back. I think they're the real deal. So that kind of wraps that up. One of the other games I want to throw in, because one of the things I like to do when I do my write-up, and I'll do more of this in the future, is I like to sprinkle in a team or two that if you're running a college football parlay and you're like, I need another team. I like Ole Miss. They play Arkansas. I definitely like them. And I like Oregon State. Both ranked teams. But if you want to sprinkle in, you got a 4-teamer, you want to make it a 5-teamer, you want to make it a 6-teamer, anything like that, I really, really, really do like throwing them in. Your Bearcats are off this week.
Thankfully.
Good luck against Iowa State next week. Hopefully you can get yourself right back on track. You got a good ball club. First year in the Big 12. Big 12 is getting a little bit bigger next year. Dion's coming. You're bringing in some more money. I'm glad to see you there, and hopefully you can turn it around.
Yeah, let's hope. Defense is there. The offense just needs to come around. And once that's there, I think we'll be okay.
Absolutely. 100%. One of the last things I want to throw in for everybody. The Cleveland Crunch are doing an open tryout Sunday, October 22nd from 11 to 1. See the address up on the screen, 31515 Lorraine Avenue at Lorraine Road. I apologize. Run that back. 31515 Lorraine Road, North Olmsted, Ohio, 44070. You can register at www.theclevelandcrunch.com/tryouts. Do it. Andrew, be there. Try out. I can't run anymore, so this is all on you.
You think I can?
No, but seriously, if you're thinking about it, if you've kicked the ball around, if you played, if you've done it, if you thought, hey, maybe I can, go try out, go do it. What is the worst that happens? You kick a ball around, you get to move around, you get to put the cleats on, you get to touch the grass, and maybe somebody tells you to pack it up early. Go, do it, please. Get that off of there. Bring our faces back. Welcome. Andrew, thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been an honor to do it with you on the first one. This will be many more to come. We're going to kind of keep you updated with the United States men's national team. When I will do some kind of EPL. I'll throw some kind of EPL parlays, some Champions League stuff. Next Champions League cycle. Let's get in. Let's kind of run through some games for everybody. We'll highlight some big stuff. We'll kind of see where the groups are at. We'll talk about how disappointing Manchester United is. Only if I can talk about how disappointing Chelsea was.
Stop it. I'm not even in the Champions League, so don't even worry about it.
And you're barely on form, so I don't want to hear you that you can finally stop using a practice goal as your goal of the month. But that's okay. It doesn't matter when my team scores goals. They give them back up in the next 5 minutes. So yeah, tune in for that. And like I said, I'm going to be kind of piggybacking the 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth on kind of till I get mine rolling myself. So tune in for that and check that out because that'll be coming to you soon. It's been a pleasure. I absolutely, absolutely want to give a shout out to the 216 Sports Network for bringing me in and giving me this platform to do what I absolutely love to do. And on that note, I'm throwing up the logo, I'm tuning up the music, playing up the band, and I am out of here. As I will end every pod from this point forward, to please do me the favor of doing the most important thing in the world. Love yours.